What's up guys, it's DaRealLilbro and today I'm talking to you about vampires. Yes, vampires. Vampires are known for being cold and bloodthirsty creatures in horror and even romance anime. But some have honorable natures and fight for good. Vampires may be one of the most popular supernatural creatures in horror and anime in general, but they're not known for their noble nature.
What's the point of it? You guys don't
Many
even
are
show
immortal
up
and
in
their strength
pictures.
plus the endless years passing tends to make them apathetic, even misanthropic. Eternity and watching generations pass may fascinate and humble some, but others find it monotonous, and it brings out the worst in them. Historically in storytelling, a vampire's urges aren't easy to control either.
Vampire.
But there are some vampires who see one's past, and it encourages them to choose compassion and take a protective stance toward humanity. Though their bloodlust limits their relationships often, they prioritize honor.
Thanks a lot. You're making our job a lot.
Now top 10 most honorable anime vampires. First is Abel Knight Road. Abel Knight Road wasn't always a stand-up guy in Trinity Blood. For a long time, he equated all of humanity with the cruel ones that participated in the Red Mars project. He was wrong to do so, of course, and losing someone he respected is what made him change. Abel is so dedicated to Naya Sancta's memory that he paid his respects to her tomb for nearly 1,000 years. Though Abel lost Lilith, he finally absorbed what she tried to teach him about compassion while she was alive. He's a great reformed villain turned hero. Second is Meyer Link. At first it seems that Meyer Link will be the central antagonist in Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust. But he is a lover, not a fighter. Though he will fight if he needs to, but it's to protect the woman he loves and their dream of finding a place to live together in peace. Meyer is an incredibly tragic figure. When his lover Charlotte asks him to turn her, Meyer resists. It's a great act of self-control for him to resist taking her blood. He refrains because he worries about what eternity would be like for Charlotte. He tries to explain to her that a human lifetime is more worthy than endless, lonely years, and bloodlust. Third is Alucard. Alucard is the strongest vampire in the Hellsing world, and he wields that power with a great consideration.
I'm going to kill you.
Though he is a vampire himself, he fights against his kind because they prey on humans.
Well, intimidating.
Alucard may have good motives for his work, but he doesn't spare feelings when he's in a fight. Alucard doesn't just fight to kill, he toys with his opponent.
Who is it?
But he also tries to resist his demonic nature and forms deep bonds with people. Any show of arrogance he has is a smokescreen to hide his vampiric sorrow. In the end, he does the right thing. Fourth is Larva. Larva is an honorable and dedicated servant to Miyu and Vampire Princess Miyu. It's a role that Larva chooses because of his compassion for her inner torment. Larva's dedication is vital for Miyu, and his allegiance is the only thing she can truly depend upon. Larva keeps his promises to Miyu. Even the ones that hurt him to fulfill, because more than loving her, he respects her personal choices. Larva wasn't always a quiet and reserved knight of sorts. He was once evil, but he breaks from that and chooses a different path by protecting and serving Miyu. Fifth is Striga. Striga is a complex villain in Castlevania. She is a villain because for most of her arc, she aids Carmilla in her war against humanity. But Striga is a likable villain with some redeeming qualities. It's those better qualities of Striga's that encourage her to pivot in her long life as a war general. While nothing and no one will keep her from keeping her lover Morena safe by any means necessary, Striga only wants to fight with honor. And for her, fighting against peasants defending their farms puts a poor taste in her mouth. Ultimately, she walks away from the war and Carmilla, and doesn't look back. Sixth is Dralic. The Vampire Dies in No Time is a silly buddy comedy about a renowned vampire hunter in over his head, and a surprisingly delicate vampire, Dralic. Dralic is more than he appears at first glance. The vampire may have a monstrous reputation, but really, he's benign. Dralic's worst sins are perhaps being annoying, but that's hardly dishonorable. He's quite generous and compassionate, and he makes friends easily, even with the most unlikely folk, especially armadillos. Dralic also has staunch rules about taking blood from people. Unlike nearly all villainous vampires, he detests violence, and regardless of his dietary needs, he never takes blood unless it's willingly given. 7 is Momo. Momo is supposed to be the queen of the vampires in Vampire in the Garden. The crown weighs heavily on her head, though, along with the war between vampires and humans. For being a vampire queen, Momo is awfully moved by the loss of one human, and that informs nearly all her most important decisions. Momo is a subtle person. She means well despite a cold exterior, and her decisions are indeed governed by kindness. She's a patient teacher, she's willing to endanger herself to protect and save others, and she's nurturing. 8 is Hoggy. Hoggy of Blood Plus is the eternal gentleman of the vampire pantheon. He even looks like a vampire version of Mr. Darcy. He's cultured, stoic, talented, and helpful. Though Hoggy has great musical talent, he doesn't worship himself. He can take liberties with social niceties and push the bounds of politeness, sometimes, but when it's important, he does the honorable thing even if it costs him. He's a very devoted person. And though Hoggy's completely besotted with sorrow, he keeps his feelings hidden out of respect for her. 9th is Alucard. Alucard steps up and does something which few people could do in Castlevania. He faces off with his own father who raised him when Dracula loses his goodness to injustice and greed. Alucard expresses deep compassion for his father and tells Dracula that he isn't alone in his grief, but he cannot stand by while his father tries to ruin the world. Even though humans took Alucard's mother, he doesn't hinge the clergy's crime on all humanity. He even helps them in battles with little inducement aside from it being the right thing to do. Alucard also cares deeply about his friends even if he's a snot to them from time to time. Finally, the big and bad number 10 is D. D devotes his entire life to righting the wrongs of fellow vampires in Vampire Hunter D. He spends his long life in relative solitude, but still spends his time on the earth well because he's constantly helping people in need. D is painfully beautiful, but behind that beauty is a deep sorrow that comes from isolation and rigid self-control. D's written to be an incredibly romantic figure, even though he never successfully gets a love interest. The one time when he's tempted to grow closer to someone, Doris, he stops himself in his tracks. He knew that he wouldn't be able to stop his bloodlust eventually, and rather than risking calamity for his heart, he went on his lonely way and let the young woman live a full human life.